Right, question for today, kind of a political one. What do you think it would take for Obergefell to fall like Roe did? What's it going to take for that to happen?
2 SCOTUS judges, maybe 1.
Okay. You think that's all it's going to take?
Yeah.
Do you think that we does it have? Do we have the political will? Because in order to get it before the Supreme Court, somebody's going to have to.
It's going to have to come up from some
red state is going to have to say, we're going to revisit this now.
Right.
And be able to get that through the legislature.
Right.
Do you think that's feasible, given how do you think that people have sort of made peace with that aspect of it? They may not have made peace with some of the downstream fruit.
No, I think I think there are an awful lot of people who have not made peace with it, but they don't have a banner to rally around or a leader to rally around. So I think that if some red state governor, Oklahoma or something, just took a stand and said, this is what we're going to do, I think a lot of support would come out of the woodwork for that. I think it's a function of Paul saying, when the bugle blows indistinctly, no one gets ready for battle. We don't have anybody in the top tier of Reformed evangelical leadership saying Obergefell must go. And I think we need to be. I know you're doing it, Delenda est.
Delenda est.
But I think there's got to be a lot more of that, and we need to pray that God would raise up a standard bearer who would say this actually is critical.
And then and should we have the same mindset? So the folks who went after Roe all those years ago, they probably at the time didn't think it would take that long,
right?
Because there was a bunch of false starts. As when it got to the Supreme Court, they doubled down and tripled down and things like that. So it took 40 years or 50 years. Do you think that we ought to have a similar take the long view? So from the outset, take the long view of we're going to have to do work to persuade people that this is really, really bad.
Right. We have, yes, take the long view, but at the same time, we should have learned something from round 1 that enables us to not make some of the same mistakes.
Okay, like what?
Like back in the 80s when Reagan was president, there was a big division in the pro-life movement over whether we should fight it with a constitutional amendment that would outlaw abortion in all 50 or repeal Roe.
Yeah, and make it
which is
50 state battles.
Which is where we wound up now.
Yeah.
But the story is told, and I think it resonates with me. There was a big gathering of pro-lifers at the White House with Reagan there, and squabble, the tactical division broke out, and they were just at each other. And Reagan got up and left and said, when you guys figure it out, let me know.
Right.
Okay. So I think we ought not to get in a swizzle with people who want the same thing that we do. So we should guard against that kind of mistake. So perhaps it would take not as long to get to that point.
Because you would say the best kind of tactic at this point is we got to take out Obergefell rather than try to get a constitutional amendment defining marriage as one man and one woman.
Right.
That at least to me sounds pretty out of reach.
Well, way out of reach because you have to get 3/4 of the states to ratify it, which is not going to happen. It's conceivable that you could get one state to do the radical thing. And, of course, that would go all the way up the food chain to the Supreme Court. And it's conceivable that you could get one new Alito on the Supreme Court.
Yeah, so if you had a justice who would basically do the same thing they did with Roe, which is this is not a constitutional question, this is a legislative question, and then they would kick back to the states, and it'd be a really interesting fallout because of the recognition challenge, right? You'd have, if you had 5 or 6 or 10 states saying no way, no how, and then everybody else is passing laws saying you betcha.
Yeah. It's still untenable. Can 2 walk together except they be agreed in Amos? And it's untenable because of the full faith and credit
Right.
clause of the. So if you have a driver's license in Maryland, you can drive in Oregon.
Right.
Well, if you're married in Maryland, are you married in Oregon?
Yeah.
And that's
something would have to get worked out.
Something
there.
has to give some time, some way,
Yeah.
and it's got to be all 50 at some point. But what's the most strategic way of getting there? I don't think it's trying to take all 50 all at once.
Right. And then in terms of the kind of persuasion that you think, so there's the folks who are already convinced, but I look around and I see, even among, the Trumpism has made peace with gay marriage. So, I remember even J.D. Vance saying, we're going to try to win the normal gay guy vote. And they want to resist the tranny stuff, but they want to rally with normal gay, whatever that means. How would you go about trying to move that needle, especially because I've done interviews on my Scent of Empathy book with conservative outlets, and when I bring up the push for Obergefell as an example of empathetic manipulation, I've had a number of them jump in at that point to say, well, I just want to make it clear that I'm actually okay with that. I don't like the tranny stuff, but I'm okay with that. Right. What sort of where would you start to try to help ostensible conservatives, Christian or not, realize that Obergefell has to go?
One of the thing that basically made Roe more accessible, the overturning of Roe more accessible, was the invention of the ultrasound, or the not the invention of, but the development
and the widespread
use of the ultrasound. When Nancy and I were having Rachel, our youngest, ultrasounds were just coming in. They were just becoming a thing. And I remember looking at an ultrasound of Rachel in the womb, and it looked like a bad Xerox copy of a distant galaxy.
The doctor says there's a baby there, and you say, well, if you say so.
But then ultrasound technology advanced to the point where you can see the kid's dimples. And people, what this did is, okay, you've got this gestation period, and here's the baby at 8 months. Okay, that's a baby. But people think in terms of sequences. They'll go back, okay, when did this baby get here?
Well, when did it become a baby?
When did it become a baby? And so they're confronted with a continuum. I think we have, thanks to the radicals in the sexual revolution, we have the same kind of perverse continuum. The tranny thing is the logical next step from the homosexual,
with pedophile right after.
Right, with pedophile coming. What's hiding under the plus sign?
Right.
Okay. Well, all kinds of creepy crawlies are hiding under there, and so you have if you want to say, well, normal gay sex, that's an oxymoron.
Yeah.
Normal gay sex guys are opposed to the trannies. Well, I'm glad they are, but if you look straight at this, what you're looking at is sexual autonomy. That's what you're looking at.
Right.
Well, am I not looking at that
Yeah.
With homosexuality and lesbianism?
Okay.
No, I'm looking at sexual autonomy.
Right.
And that's the enemy. And sexual autonomy has heterosexual forms, serial polygamy and polygamy, that's heterosexual. But it's again, lawless and autonomous.
So trying to help people see all of sin this is the natural tendency. You take the brakes off of your sexual desires, it's going to end up there. And if you don't like there, well, we need to go back and put some covenants around sexual desire.
Yeah, you guys can't. You guys can't say, I want my brakes to go out for only 3/4 of the switchback grade.
Yeah,
no,
right.
That's not how it works.
That's not how it works. And then how valuable do you think it is to re-stigmatize certain things? So part of it seems to me that part of the way that the play got run was sanitizing the language. Do you think it's important to re-stigmatize certain behaviors, reawaken kind of the disgust, their gag reflex?
Yeah, the ick factor. Yeah, I do, because the whole thing was that Will and Grace sitcom, which I never saw, but it was like, let's normalize every sitcom has to have a
funny gay guy.
A winsome gay guy in it, and that was a propaganda move that worked, and I think we need to now. Fortunately, on the trans thing, A lot of the radical sexual extremists have taken the helpful step of stigmatizing themselves.
Right.
Their whole point is to become obnoxious.
Yeah. And grotesque.
And that's the kick they're getting. And so, all right, let's take it back.
Yeah.
Just take it back a step and say, oh.
Okay. Good.